I used to believe that betrayal only happened in movies or dramatic books. I was wrong. Sometimes it wears a familiar face. Sometimes it calls you best friend. My name is Emily Carter, and for most of my 20s, my life revolved around two people, Jason Miller, the man I loved, and Rachel Adams, the woman I trusted more than anyone else. Rachel and I met in college. We were inseparable from the first week. Late night talks, shared clothes, shared dreams. People used to say we looked like sisters. I believed she would be in my life forever. Jason came later. He was charming, ambitious, and full of big promises. When I introduced him to Rachel, I never imagined that moment would quietly change everything. At that time, my world felt perfect. I had love, friendship, and a dream I was working on day and night. The dream was my business idea. It started small, just sketches in a notebook, ideas written on coffee-stained pages. I wanted to build a women's-focused wellness brand, something honest and empowering, not fake or flashy. I talked about it constantly, to Jason, to Rachel, especially to Rachel. She listened, or at least I thought she did. Every night I shared details, brand name ideas, product concepts, suppliers, even mistakes I wanted to avoid. Rachel would smile, nod, and tell me how proud she was of me. "You're going to be huge one day," she used to say. Jason encouraged me too, but in a different way. He loved the idea of success more than the work behind it. Still, I trusted them. I trusted both of them. That was my first mistake. Things started changing slowly. Rachel began canceling plans. Jason became distant. When I noticed the tension, they both blamed work, stress, life. I believed them. Then one evening, everything collapsed. I went to Jason's apartment early, planning to surprise him with dinner. I had a key. I let myself in quietly, smiling like an idiot. I heard laughter, not Jason's alone. Rachel's. My heart froze before my mind could catch up. I walked toward the bedroom, each step heavier than the last. I pushed the door open. They didn't even notice me at first. My best friend, my boyfriend, together. Time stopped. My ears rang. My hands started shaking. Rachel screamed when she saw me. Jason jumped out of bed, stuttering excuses that didn't make sense. "I can explain," he said. Rachel was crying, apologizing, saying it just happened. But what hurt the most wasn't the scene in front of me. It was the look they shared. Guilt, yes, but also relief, like a secret was finally out. I walked out without saying a word. For days, I didn't answer calls or messages. My phone was full of apologies and lies. I stayed in my apartment, replaying every conversation, every moment I had trusted them completely. That should have been the end. But betrayal wasn't finished with me yet. A few weeks later, while scrolling through social media, I saw something that made my stomach drop. Rachel had posted an announcement. "So excited to announce my new wellness brand. Big things coming soon." The logo looked familiar, too familiar. I clicked the page. The mission statement felt like something I had written myself. The product ideas, the language, even the tone, it was mine. My idea, my dream, stolen. I felt sick, angry, humiliated. Jason was part of it too. His name wasn't public, but I knew. He always talked about business potential. Now he was suddenly Rachel's biggest supporter. I confronted her. She denied everything. "Emily, you don't own ideas," she said calmly. This is business. That sentence changed me. I realized something important that day. Crying wouldn't help me. Begging wouldn't fix anything. Revenge wouldn't come from screaming or exposing them immediately. It would come with patience. I disappeared from their lives completely. No drama, no posts, no public fights. People thought I was broken. Let them. Behind closed doors, I was rebuilding myself. I went back to my original notes. I rewrote everything. Stronger, smarter, better. I researched quietly. I learned about branding, legal protection, and strategy. I worked 2 jobs to fund my vision. I didn't rush. Rachel's brand launched quickly, full of noise and influencers. People praised her originality. I watched silently. What she didn't know was this: she had stolen my first idea, but she could never steal my mind. I created something better, cleaner, more authentic, and while she chased attention, I built foundations. I registered my brand legally. I protected my work. I connected with people who believed in substance, not shortcuts. Months passed, then a year. Rachel's brand began to crack. Poor reviews, inconsistent quality. Customers noticed. Meanwhile, I was almost ready. I chose my launch date carefully, the same day as hers, the day she planned her biggest public event yet. She thought she was winning. She had no idea what was coming, and I smiled for the first time in a long time, knowing that the real story was just beginning. I didn't announce anything. No countdown, no hints. While Rachel posted daily updates, smiling for cameras and pretending everything was perfect, I stayed invisible. That invisibility became my power. Every morning, I woke up before sunrise. I worked my regular job during the day, then came home and worked on my brand until my eyes burned and my fingers hurt. I learned things Rachel never bothered to learn: supply chains, contracts, customer psychology, quality control. She wanted attention. I wanted longevity. There were nights I almost quit, nights when the betrayal replayed in my mind like a broken record. Jason's voice, Rachel's excuses, the way they both looked relieved when I walked out, like I had freed them from guilt. Those memories hurt, but they also fueled me. I named my brand True Her. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't loud, it was honest. Before launching, I tested everything quietly, small batches, real feedback. I listened to women who felt ignored by big brands. I fixed mistakes before the world could see them. Rachel did the opposite. Her brand launched fast and loud. Influencers, paid reviews, big promises. But cracks started showing within months. Late shipments, cheap materials, customers complaining in comments she quickly deleted. I watched without reacting. Then, one evening, something unexpected happened. Jason called me. I hadn't heard his voice in over a year. He said, "I just wanted to check on you," pretending concern. I almost laughed. He continued casually, "I heard you're doing something too." So he knew. I kept my voice calm. People hear things. There was silence. Then he said, "You know Rachel worked really hard for her brand." That was the moment I realized something important. He was scared. After the call, I didn't feel angry. I felt focused. My launch plan was almost complete. I chose a venue downtown, clean, minimal, professional. I invited journalists, not influencers, businesswomen, not socialites. I wanted people who cared about substance. And then I did something very intentional. I scheduled my launch at the exact same time as Rachel's biggest rebranding event. Same city, same evening. She had no idea. The week before the launch, her stress became visible online. She posted motivational quotes that felt forced. Her smile looked tight. The comments were mixed now, supportive fans arguing with disappointed customers. Meanwhile, my brand website quietly went live in private mode. Investors reviewed it. Lawyers approved everything. I was protected. Then came the final step. I prepared proof. Old emails, voice notes, messages where Rachel praised my ideas, screenshots of conversations where I shared details of my original plan, dates, names, concepts. I didn't plan to expose everything online like a scandal. That would be messy. I planned to expose the truth professionally, on launch day. The morning of the event, I looked at myself in the mirror longer than usual. I didn't see the broken woman from a year ago. I saw someone calm, controlled, ready. Rachel's event was loud, music, cameras, a crowd hungry for drama. Mine was quiet, intentional. As guests arrived, I greeted them personally. Journalists asked questions. Investors listened. For the first time in a long time, I felt seen, not for betrayal, but for my work. Then it was time. I stepped onto the stage. The room went silent. I introduced myself, my brand, my mission. Then I told a story. Not names, not accusations, just truth. I spoke about betrayal, about having your trust broken by the people closest to you, about losing everything and choosing not to destroy others, but to rebuild yourself better. I saw people leaning forward, listening. Then I showed timelines, development stages, legal registrations, and finally, without saying Rachel's name, I showed proof that TrueHer existed long before any similar brand, proof that couldn't be argued with. The room changed. Phones came out. Journalists exchanged looks. At the exact same moment, chaos was starting at Rachel's event. Questions she couldn't answer, comparisons she couldn't avoid, truth she couldn't control. I ended my speech with one sentence. Some people steal ideas. Others build legacies. The applause wasn't loud. It was heavy. And as I walked off the stage, my phone buzzed. Multiple messages, missed calls. From Rachel, from Jason. I didn't answer. Outside, cameras waited. Inside, my brand was officially alive. And Rachel's perfect image, it was beginning to fall apart. But the final blow hadn't landed yet. That would come next. By the next morning, everything had changed. I woke up to hundreds of notifications, articles, emails, messages from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Some congratulated me, others asked questions they already knew the answers to. Rachel's name was everywhere, not in the way she wanted. Comparisons flooded social media, side-by-side screenshots, timelines, people connecting dots she could no longer erase. Her comment section was turned off by noon. She called me again. This time, I answered. Her voice was shaking. "Emily, please, you didn't have to do this." I stayed calm. I didn't do anything. I launched my brand. "You ruined me," she whispered. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "You ruined yourself," I said quietly, and ended the call. Jason tried next. His tone was different now, defensive, desperate. "You're making this personal," he said. "It was always personal. You just didn't think I'd survive it." I blocked both numbers. That week, investors pulled out of Rachel's company. Partners distanced themselves. The press didn't accuse her directly, but they didn't need to. Silence spoke louder than denial. Meanwhile, TrueHer grew faster than I expected. Orders came in steadily. Reviews were honest and positive. Women wrote emails thanking me, not just for the products, but for the story behind them. They felt it, the difference between something stolen and something built. A month later, I received an invitation to speak at a women's entrepreneurship panel. Rachel's name was on the original list. It was crossed out. When I stepped on that stage, I didn't talk about revenge. I talked about resilience, about losing everything and choosing integrity over bitterness. The audience stood when I finished. I didn't look for Rachel in the crowd.
She wasn't there. Weeks passed, then months. One afternoon, I ran into her by accident at a coffee shop. She looked smaller somehow, tired, no makeup, no confidence. She saw me and froze. I nodded politely and ordered my drink. She didn't say a word. And I realized something important in that moment. This wasn't about winning. It was about becoming someone who could never be taken advantage of again. Jason disappeared from my life completely. Last I heard, he had moved cities, started over, alone. As for me, my life felt quieter but stronger. No lies, no borrowed dreams, just mine. On the anniversary of my launch, I stood in my office, looking over the same city where everything once fell apart. I smiled, not because of revenge, but because of peace. Some people tried to steal your story, others rewrite it, and this time, I was the author.